But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, Faithful? Welcome to another episode of the 49er Faithful UK Live. The sun is shining and that song never fails to get me in the mood. I'm dancing away backstage. And before I introduce myself and Nick, I did see the band had shared a rather good acoustic slowed down version of that. So head over to my personal Instagram because I shared that earlier because that song, Nick, is fire. But anyway, I'm digressing. I'm Paul Hope.
I suppose that makes me Nick Ludlam.
And we're back with another episode of the 49er Faithful UK Live. Now, if you are like my good lady Tracy, and she turned to me today, Nick, and said, why on earth are you boys going live tonight? You've got nothing to talk about. And don't worry, everybody. I pulled her in and I said, Tracy, it's 100 days until the NFL season starts. And my man, Nick, we've got to break it down. Nobody could forgive us if we didn't do a show. But before we get started, Nick, how are you on this sunny Tuesday in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm going to do the standard British thing. It's too hot. Well, it's too hot for me anyway. I don't like it. If it gets any hotter, it's going to become unbearable for me. So this is probably the last week of summer that I'm set to enjoy. But yeah, it's been good fun. Played away down in Weston-super-Mare with the Swansea Hammerheads. 3 games, 3 wins. Even a little cheeky offensive MVP for myself. How about you?
Yeah, I did see that you were the offensive MVP. So the Steel River Stingrays hosted our first game day cross-conference on Saturday at a secondary school in Billingham. So we welcomed down our friends across the border. Glasgow Killer Bees beat us in the first game. Sadly, I didn't see any playing field. As a rookie, I suppose you've got to learn to accept that. We played the Grangemouth Colts. Second game, my man Connor Ryan scored an awesome pick 6. I scored a touchdown, which we'll talk about now. Yeah, I got into trouble. Everybody. Didn't realise you're not supposed to celebrate.
It's like college rules. It's not NFL. It's like college rules in flag over here, mate. There's no celebrating allowed.
And we lost a nail biter to the Aberdeen Oil Cats, literally last second killer touchdown. But the sun was shining. Football was had by everybody. It was a great day. So I think we host our second in-conference game day. I think it's the end of next month. But we're still waiting on the results of the offensive MVP. So our Team GB contact player, Siobhan, suited up for her first game. And as you can imagine, Nick, she was as awesome as we all knew she was going to be. So she took 10 of the 11 votes. So the defensive MVP has been announced, but we're still waiting on the offensive one. I'm neck and neck at the moment. There's me and another lad got 3 votes each. So we're just waiting for another couple of people to vote. But I'm doing well, buddy. Before we get started, so Jamie Burgess has jumped in. Evening, gents. He's missed the last few videos and podcasts.
You're all right, mate.
It's the off season, Jamie. We'll forgive you.
You're allowed a week off.
David, Faithful UK. It's always good when
David.
people from across the pond join us. Colin is in the house. Good evening. And he agrees with you, Nick. So the people in the United Kingdom don't do so well in the sun. So it's too hot. He's
Never.
In his
I think he's disagreeing with me from the side of things.
Still 31 degrees. Now, to be fair, Colin, I did share a tweet with Nick earlier. So me and my good lady went for a day trip to Saltburn yesterday on the train. The sun was shining. I tweeted a rather beautiful picture of the pier. And actually, a 49er fan from across the pond was like, hello, Paul. Didn't realise you were based in the northeast of England. Of all the things to connect people, Nick, it was not my love of the 49ers. It wasn't my many tweets about the 49ers. It was actually a picture of sunny Saltburn. So he's moving to Newcastle. And he asked the question, Nick, will there be any meetups this year for him to attend?
I don't know. I think what he's going to need to do, really, he needs to like and subscribe to the show. And he needs to really join the Facebook group because there might be 1 or 2 that we have.
So I went in full promotion mode, which Mr. Gowland will be happy. So I sent him a couple of the pictures from the meetups, and he sent a message back saying that we're his kind of people. And obviously, I dropped the link for the podcast, the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, and he didn't reply after that. So maybe he's absorbing all the content. And Matthew, this bad boy is straight from residency. So I haven't rocked it for a couple of weeks. I've been putting some other hats in rotation, but I went for the whole black and black look tonight. So, and I've got to say, that T-shirt you've got, Nick, I love that T-shirt. It's absolutely...
It's my favourite. I got this one. I actually bought this one at Levi's. That's where I got this one from. Although I probably should wear a hat. My barber, I thought it was really, really unkind of him to do it. But he shut early when I was supposed to get my hair cut the other day. So my fringe is a little long. Do you remember Tintin?
I am old enough to remember Tintin. To be fair, that's the reason I've got the hat on. So everyone knows I have a quiff. I have a ruffled hair look. And same to you, I have just basically not got in touch with my barber, and I'm in desperate need of a haircut. So tomorrow in the office will be fun.
The thing is, right now, I'm like a geriatric Tintin is the problem. That's the thing. Is you still have colour in your hair that isn't white or grey, Paul.
There is a few greys in there, I can tell you, buddy. But David says that he's based in Canada, feels the same way. Anything over 25 degrees, he feels uncomfortable. To be honest, David, our good friends from Scotland were commenting how hot it was in sunny Billingham at the weekend. I had my sun cream on, I frazzle in anything over 5 degrees. Tracy always laughs at me, so God help me when I go to Tenerife in August. But yeah, it's good to be back, Nick. I mean, David has read our mind. He's put there that the OTAs are important, and he wishes it was televised. And I must admit, given how spoilt we are in the UK with Game Pass and access to footage of the NFL, I do find that having to rely on our good friends across the pond who are able to go to the stuff that's at Levi's is awesome. And we are going to get into some OTAs, David, don't we? We just wanted to share some flag football talk because Nick had a rather good weekend. And he said he's a geriatric Tintin, but you're still racking up those touchdowns and you're still racking up those MVPs. So what can we say, buddy?
Still going. Just about.
And we're joined by Brian, who's got his own channel. He's put, "Hey, Faithful, hit the like button, everybody." So yeah, we would appreciate any likes, subscribes, shares of the links. Comment on the video if you're not watching live. That also helps the algorithm. And we're bubbling nicely. As I said at the start, everybody, 100 days, Nick. 100 days.
It's not far.
I'm excited.
It's not far.
So where are we going to start tonight, Nick? Let's have a little look. So David mentioned OTAs. So before we went live tonight, everybody, I did send Nick a loose schedule. We like to keep the interaction on this show. So some of the stuff that I've seen about OTAs that I've caught my headline. The first one I wanted to talk about is apparently CMC is not only at OTAs, Nick, which let's face it, he'd be forgiven for having a cheeky time off being a veteran. And we all know the injury concerns, but he's not only there, but apparently he's absolutely smashing it. And I think the concern is someone needs to put an arm around him and say, "Christian, just do it off a little bit, son. Just
come here just a little bit. Like we don't want you going full bore just yet."
I mean, he was on with Rich Einson and he gave the very team-friendly answer when they asked about the quarterback situation. Now, I say team-friendly. I have seen some people try to spin the headlines where it was CMC says it doesn't matter who's at QB because Kyle Shanahan's scheme means anybody can go in there. But if you go in and read the comments and if you watch what he said, he didn't say that. He was complimentary about all of them, who CMC is. And he was basically just saying, Nick, that the confidence this team has, it really doesn't matter in their eyes. Any of the three we've got on the books will come in, that will do a good job. And he has said the reason he's attacking OTAs so much is he feels like he's still got a lot to learn when it comes to the scheme and the playbook. And it just shows the work ethic that CMC has got. Are you happy with that? Or do you think he needs to come and have a bit of a chill out, bit of a sit down on the side?
I'd rather he took a small step back because there is a long time to go before week one. There's a lot of training to be done. As for the comments he said on the Rich Eisen show, I'm fine with it. You know, he's not throwing shade on anyone. He's being complimentary. Are you really going to expect anything else from any of them? In all honesty, I'm not. They're not going to come out and go, "Oh yeah, it should be this man or it should be that man." They're not going to. They're not going to alienate themselves from a guy who's going to be playing quarterback, potentially that quarterback that they've said or not said nice things about then passes them by on certain looks. They're not going to do that. You know, it's players are told this from the teams all the time. It's a business. It's a business. It's a business. It's a business. The players have to play that as well. You know, they're going to make sure that they're not hurting their own stats for when it comes for their next or potentially last contract negotiation, because you never know when that's going to come.
Yeah, I mean, we all talk about the culture at the 49ers, the characters in the locker room. And I think it's a testament to Kyle and his staff that we've got someone like CMC who is leading by example. Like you said, the more I see of him off the field, you know, starting his foundation, you know, the stuff he posts on social media, makes me very happy that he will be in my next jersey purchase. I've nearly pressed the button on a couple of occasions, but given that we're in the off season and, you know, family commitments and holidays to pay for,
Sure.
But rest assured, 23 will be the next jersey that I buy, and I can't wait to rock it at the next meetup.
Thankfully, I don't have to buy one. I won one, didn't I? End of last year from Gridiron. So yeah, happy days.
Well, I got my 11 up there, so if there is any more meetups in Leeds and we have to wear white, I have a choice of that. Either Brandon Ayuk, the road jersey, or I've got the Kittle white 94 throwback, which, to be honest, is my favourite jersey. I love those white throwbacks as soon
They are
as
awesome.
they release them.
But are you really going to go on what could turn into a messy night out in a white top?
I might have to just do a Gary Thorpe and bring 18 different outfit changes. So, you know, who knows? There's a lot of love for CMC in the comments. So, David, I'll put your comment up earlier, buddy. CMC is a Titan.
Yes.
I knew he was good. I knew he was good from watching the NFL, from being a fan of fantasy football. I just didn't realise how good he really was until you watch him week in, week out. And as it's known, I don't watch many other sports. I've been back and been watching highlights and videos and footage, and it just gets better every time you watch it. And as Matthew was put there, CMC is the reason we won't be starting slowly this year. So if you watched a couple of weeks ago, me and Nick did our win-loss. And I think we had it was tied between 14-3, 13-4.
It
So
was, yeah. You had it down as 14-3, and both Chat and I had it down as 13-4.
Now, we will revisit that schedule a bit closer at the start of the season. But David's agreeing with me, the white throwback with number 16. And 49ers royalty is in the house. Alex Simpson, never apologise, buddy. We're just glad that you've joined us. So he's put, sorry, late, busy working on his would you rather.
It better be better than your last attempt.
We're not mentioning that one. I'm still not going to give it the airtime that I feel it doesn't deserve. Now, before we went live, everybody, I was also chatting to Nick about two names in particular. So we were talking about Drake Jackson and Spencer Burford. So you have seen the same reports that I've seen. Is that right, Nick? That Jackson's looking ready?
Jackson's looking stacked, man. Apparently, he's really gone for it. A lot of it seems to be more upper body than anything. So hopefully that's not going to sort of take back on anything sort of speed-wise. But yeah, it's positive because I think Drake knows he needs to have a big year. This is a year he could really cement himself as being that guy opposite Bosa. He's got a big chance. There's going to be a lot of double teams in the middle because they're going to need to double team Arik from time to time in the run game because he's so dominant in that part, that run defense. You've now got Hargrave coming through, who's just a complete wrecking ball right through the middle. So they're going to be double teams hitting there. And then you've got Nick Bosa. Well, there's just going to be double teams regardless, whether it be the run game or the pass game. They're going to be doubling up on him. So this is really ready for Drake to really hit the ball running and announce himself on the big stage. You know, he's not just a college rusher. He is an NFL big boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's well known that the 49ers tend to draft players with one eye on that second year leap. Sometimes the player's red shirt. I mean, Jackson looked, he flashed in training last year. I seen a comment that made me laugh. Apparently last year, he turned up to camp looking like, I'll read the comment, a flabby college player who might wear a T-shirt in the swimming pool. Now, I can relate to that. Soon to be 43, proud girl dad. I may have to rock that T-shirt in the pool on holiday, but apparently he now looks like a 5-year veteran with a grown man's body. And that came from Grant Cohen, who's around the team. And apparently it's great news. We need him to take that leap, like you've said. So far, so good. And Miyoko has come out and said that Jackson's looking faster, which is an edge rusher. Speed kills.
Yeah.
We know that with Nick Bosa. David sharing the love that Drake's got a massive opportunity. Hopefully he cashes in. And as you said, Matthew, the form of Jackson is so important. And you mentioned there Hargreave, and as Alec has put in there, that addition is going to be so important because it is going to allow Armstead to feast. And I saw some comments from Armstead which has said that he's connected with Salah. They've been playing online chess games and they've been understanding the importance of getting your mind ready for. So it just shows that even when people leave our organisation, Salah's head coach of the New York Jets, he's still working with our players. And I hope for a big year from Armstead this year, but I hope for a big year from Jackson, from Bosa. I hope the number one defense shows why we're the number one defense. And I did say, I'll just get it back up. And the other player on there that a few people have been concerned about is Spencer Burford. So apparently, as much as he's had an impressive year last year, he still looked lean and almost too light to play guard in the NFL. But apparently he looks like he's been doing some work in the gym. He's bulked up a little bit, which means the weakest link on the offensive line, physically, some people may say, could now become a strength. And there's a lot of talk. Obviously, McKivit's on that right side, and was Burford going to move across? And the lad that they picked up from the Giants, apparently he's shown in training camp why.
Feliciano,
So I'm feeling quietly confident, Nick. I mean, I always am confident with our boys, but
there's a lot of good things coming out of camp. It's always good when you see a lot of the beat writers, and it's not just the beat writers, it's a lot of the content creators that we obviously managed to get quite friendly with. They're saying a lot of good things as well. And it's encouraging. It's what you want to see at this point of the year. You don't want to be seeing, so-and-so is looking out of shape. This so-and-so's turned up looking like they've partied all winter. It doesn't seem like any of that has happened. It seems like from the top down, all 90 players have really worked hard through the spring. They've turned up in really good condition, and now they're going to get to build on that and really push. I mean, some of these lads, they're fighting for their jobs. They're not going to be playing in the NFL next year. It's a simple fact. It's an unfortunate one, but it is one. And now's the chance. This is where these younger players will have that opportunity to show, okay, I can make a difference on special teams. I can make a difference for the San Francisco 49ers this year. I can help this team push for number 6.
And they always say iron sharpens iron. And I did chuckle, and you're probably going to laugh when I make this comparison. So I was buzzing to see Chapman and Breezy go live earlier than we go live on a Tuesday. Just saying, John and Wayne, there's room for us all. You didn't need to move your show around, gents. But the reason I mentioned our good friends, John and Wayne, and as we've shown on this side of the pond, we like to give credit where credit's due. John Chapman and Wayne are doing a breakdown of what it is stands the 90-man roster at the moment. So that's something me and Nick have stayed away from because we're very clear where we get some of our content from. So they are breaking down each player on the 90-man roster at the moment. And that's somewhere that I'm getting my content from. I know Matthew watches Wayne. I know David probably watches Wayne and John as well. So if you're at a loss and if you're like me, you want to go and absorb more content, go and follow those guys. But like you said, the way that those players have come into training camp, well, I say training camp, OTAs, I know it's not quite training camp. And the final takeaway that we had, everybody, is a couple of rookies are looking to impress. So I've got Ronnie Bell, Jalen Graham, Darrell Letter Jr. and Braden Willis. Apparently the ones to watch at the moment. They've hit the ground running. And we know Kyle doesn't care where he drafts you, doesn't care if you're an undrafted free agent. A lot of buzz around Ronnie Bell, Michigan guy. I know Breezy's high on Ronnie Bell. The talk could be that he could edge out one of those wide receivers. Now, we're not talking Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, but, looking at Danny Gray, a lot of people were quite high on Danny last year. Could Ronnie be coming into camp? Could he nail down that special teams position? And we're not going to take as many wide receivers as other teams do because we all know there's only 53 spots on that roster.
True.
3 have gone to the quarterback. And when you start going down the roster like that, Nick, there's, like you said, to business. And some of these players you fall in love with this time of year, you get attached and then they disappear off.
You're trying so hard not to fall in love with the player because Kyle is just going to break your heart come the end of come at the end of camp. I mean, now he's gone. And not only has he went in the first round of cuts, and you're like, oh well, I've balls that up.
So, David, I know Nick is due to jump on with John and talk about his time over in the States. And myself and El Presidente were on with John a few weeks ago. He's a big friend of the show. He flies the flag. So don't you worry, buddy. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more collaboration between myself and Wayne Breezy and the 49er Faithful UK and John Chapman. And as Alec has put there, the cuts are going to be interesting because if you remember this time last year, Jordan Mason hype train started, and then the word from the beat writers was the team were like, just stop talking about that kid. If he goes on the practice squad, he isn't going to stay. And those rules are quite interesting. I was trying to explain this to a colleague at work last week about the NFL, the 90-man roster, then the cut down, then the practice squad. And obviously COVID has brought some of the new rules in. So the practice squad's been extended and you can stash certain players on there and they get picked up. Yeah. But like you said, Alec, this is where we knuckle down now. That's when Tracy said earlier this afternoon while we're out on a family day trip, what are you and Nick going to talk about? I was like, buckle up, Tracy. We've hit that 100 day.
We'll find stuff, don't you worry.
So where do we go next, Nick?
Oh, I don't know. There was a little redraft, I believe, of late. Mr. Chris Sims, who did a little redraft of a few bits and bobs here and there, which was... Now, normally, I don't pay any attention to these sort of things. However, the 2017 draft does, of course, contain two of the 49ers' biggest stars. So we've got George Kittle, who was, of course, drafted in the 5th. And then you have CMC, who was also drafted that year. Now, at the moment, they've got it changed. Clearly, number one is going to be Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
of course he is. Any team who would have been number one at that time would have been stupid. Pat Mahomes, though, to the Browns, because they had the number one pick that year. Now, can you imagine if the Browns had actually managed to get themselves a decent quarterback? That would have been quite something. Then
but we've got to remember, just to stop you there, though, the hype of Mahomes, but he did sit behind Alex Smith and he went to a good organization. So hindsight,
good coach, yeah,
wonderful. Cleveland Browns have a habit of being the Cleveland Browns. Let's not beat about the bush. So
yeah, they can ruin someone pretty quickly, can't they? So then I think number 2 was that was it. Mitchell Trubisky going to the Bears, because obviously that was the day that we fleeced the Bears to get them to move up one spot. Initially, obviously, they took Mitchell Trubisky. Then you come actually to the 49ers pick. Now, initially, we obviously picked Solomon Thomas. Now, Solomon, I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's going to have a very good career in the NFL. He's just not going to have a career that you'd probably expect from the number 3 overall. Now, Chris Sims has us taking Myles Garrett, who was, of course, the number 1 overall pick. Would you agree with that? Would you take Myles Garrett knowing you've still got the likes of Jamal Adams, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, TJ Watt? There's a lot of quality there. Would you take Myles?
I can see his reasoning. You got to remember, back then we were in full rebuild mode. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan both agreed that they wanted to retool either that defensive line or the defense. Given that Kyle Shanahan is the offensive genius that we all know, you've got to look back over the drafts. The Niners, we love our defensive linemen and we love our defensive players. So what he's done, Sims, he's looked at Garrett, similar to Nick Bosa, because you remember, we drafted Nick Bosa 2nd overall. Now, believe it or not, it's as if Nick plans these things. And what's quite scary is I've actually been away from my phone for a few days, giving Tracy and the girls some time. And me and Tracy had one of those daft conversations, and you're like, if you could go back, a bit of a would you rather, which I'll get onto later. And I was like, you've definitely been talking to Nick. And it strikes me a little bit like this. Like, it's always good to go back and have a look. But, the George Kittle that we know and love now, you wouldn't be taking him other than the 5th round. So you wouldn't be taking him 3rd there. I could see an argument.
The beauty of this, though, is that you're taking these players with the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah, if you're taking the players as they've developed now, you look at that and you think, I wouldn't be taking Garrett there. If we didn't have Kittle or McCaffrey, I'd be taking them. But I mean, you look further down that list you sent me earlier, TJ Watt, I'd argue I'd take him over Myles Garrett, personally. You could look down Dalvin Cook. We've seen the impact CMC had in the Kyle Shanahan's game. Imagine if he had a running back of that quality earlier. So that's my thought process. But I would you be happy with Garrett? Because I mean, he hasn't had a bad career at the Browns.
He's not. He's a great pass rusher, but given what I know now, and as much as it hurts me, and it does hurt me physically, I can feel my heart wrenching. But how can you not take CMC?
Yeah,
I'd have to take him.
Exactly, and like we said, I remember when I woke up in the UK after we traded, and I switched my phone on, and I had all these messages from good friends across the pond, and at first I thought, is this a late April Fool's joke? We traded for CMC. I verified that it was true, and then in the group chat that I'm in with my fantasy football league, and I'm the only Niners fan, a few people were like, he's going to get injured, he's not going to be as good as you think he is, and I thought, the sour grapes have started early. That means this is an excellent trade for the 49ers. And then he got better and better to the point where I've said, if you go back and listen to last year's shows, turn to Trace and like, God, 23, that man is impressive. I want that jersey. And like you said, I think I would be taking CMC ahead of Myles Garrett. But the chat David's put there that having Garrett and Bosa together would be unfair.
So what is everyone else thinking? So what are you taking in the 2017 draft? Obviously, Mahomes is gone. Deshaun Watson is gone. Who's your number? Who are the Niners now taking at number 3 in 2017?
So David personally always leans towards the D lineman and the O lineman over skill positions. That's just his preference. So
true. Well, David, you might have your wish there because you do have Ryan Ramczyk, who did go to the Saints and himself has been been a hell of a player for the Saints, really. Been one of the few bright sparks for their team.
Yeah, I mean, the 2017 draft's one of them. 49ers fans, we love our QB talk. You look at this draft and you see Deshaun Watson, you see Patrick Mahomes. Now, obviously, the Deshaun Watson that we know now, we want nothing to do with, but the Deshaun Watson that was like in the NFL up before all that nonsense came out, I could see I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a tweet where Deshaun was wearing a 16 throwback jersey. The Niners to trade for Watson at the time before all that stuff come out. You look at Mahomes. I mean, I was smiling when you mentioned the Bears. My good friend Andy's a Bears fan. I just have to mention Trubisky's name if I want to upset him. He still rages about that trade and the fact that they've got him. And like you said, we fleeced them, but then we took Solomon Thomas, which, like you said, in today's NFL, you take a player 3rd overall, which is what we're seeing with Trey Lance. You've invested a lot of capital, but the draft, you just don't know how these players are going to turn out. You said there, George Kittle, 5th round. You look at some of the names on there, you think, my God, why was Mahomes not taken 1st overall? But
this is the thing. It's not an exact science. I mean, why is Brock Purdy Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah, so Alec on the same page as us, CMC. David, elite O-line and D-line I had. I find it, to be fair, David, since I've become more involved in doing the podcasts and the content creating, for want of a better word, Brad Graham, a huge favourite of mine, his breakdown on the O-line is impressive. And like you said, they're hard to find, and that's why the top ones get paid. Did you see the stat about Trent Williams? There was a tweet a couple of days ago, Nick, about just how awesome Trent Williams is. And, I love the fact that Kev Pippin has got a Trent jersey. He's high on my list as well of a jersey. 71 is a nice number to rock.
He's epic. Trent Williams, regardless of position, is the best player in the NFL. The fact that you have the best edge rusher in the NFL going up against the best left tackle in the NFL, day in, day out. That's not iron sharpens iron. That's platinum sharpening platinum. They're just way above anything. No one comes close to them in their respective positions.
So we're just going to digress a second. So James has jumped in, a good friend of the show. Evening all, just in from work and looking forward to flying out to San Francisco on Monday. planning a trip down to Levi's, any tips and the best way to get the stadium from the city centre? Now, I've never been, Mr. Gowland has been, and Nick has been, but we are going to do, I was going to say, James, we are going to do a show about that, but you're flying out on Monday. So, Nick, putting you on the spot, what's the best way for James to get out to Levi's from San Francisco City Centre? You will know better than me.
Well, James, you're going to have to watch the show. I think Lee might kill me if I started revealing secrets, but no, it's pretty simple to get down. You can catch the Cal train. You can get the if you've got deep pockets that I don't, you can get the Lyft and Uber and all of that down. There's a few different options, to be honest. It's really simple. There's a train station right in the center. You can just jump on there. I think it's about $20 for a day return. Get off at Mountain Pass, change for the light rail, and you literally get off right outside the stadium. It's a Great America stop. It is, and it's just right there as soon as you get off.
I was just going to say,
there's no more beautiful a sight.
I was going to say that your story when you saw that for the first time. I would say, James, just check if the stadium is open, if the store's open, if the museum's open. We'd hate for you to make that journey out. As much as the view's impressive, I have seen a few tweets about obviously being the off season, certain days at the stadium, but do hit El Presidente up in his DMs. He will always be happy to help fellow faithful. And I'm sure you'll be flying that flag. So we'd look forward to seeing those posts on social media.
I would say, though, James, I don't know if you're a baseball fan, mate. I'm sure I saw it. I think potentially you're going to see a Giants game. If not, they do stadium tours at the Giants at Oracle Park. And that's actually quite good fun. I've done that once before as well.
So I did like that Nick did send the 2017 top 10 draft. So we have debated whether we should go back and look at previous drafts, Nick, not just the 2017 one. So maybe we're now in this quiet off-season period and things have calmed down a little bit. Maybe we give those good people. But I did chuckle when you sent that to me, because you look at some of those names, you look at where people have been taken. I mean, as soon as I see Jamal Adams, I just chuckle. As much as he's been decent player in the NFL, I do think the Seahawks were screwed royally by the Jets with that trade.
They were. They overpaid for him. I mean, Christ, they basically paid £4.50 for a Mars bar.
I like that reference. Yeah, that's a
don't get me wrong. Love the Mars bar. They're great. However, I'm not paying £4.50 for it. And they overpaid. They overpaid phenomenally. So
James is going to see the Giants on the 9th. He'll be watching the show on Tuesday. So
Giants are actually doing really well at the moment as well. They're on quite a streak.
We're always happy to help. So the Seahawks reference I've got in there, everyone. So I made Nick chuckle earlier. So don't fact check me, Nick. I'm just going to tell you what I saw today. So I live in the northeast of England, and my good lady wanted to go to Old Mother Shipton's Cave in Knaresborough. Now, when we got there, Nick, the sign said it's the oldest tourist attraction in England. So I took that sign at face value. Now, I left my phone at home. Twitter probably thought there was something wrong. I'm surprised I didn't get an emergency tweet off them. But I was phone free for a few hours. I had my Niners cap on. I promised Tracy no NFL talk. We came out of the attraction and we stumbled across a gent in a Seahawks cap, a Seahawks hoodie. So it would be amiss of me not to boo him in front of the girls. I'm talking full on. But in his defense, he did the same back. We had a bit of cheeky banter. And it goes to show the NFL in the UK, you never take a day off. And we left from there and we got on like a little rowing boat to go, and Tracy was like, there's always someone in there. There's always some football talk. And I was like, what? They're being rude for me not to say that. So that's why I wanted to shoehorn the Seahawks reference in. So, Nick, any more draft talk from 2017? Well,
no, it's just what, when you look down the list, it is what an epic class. I mean, I think we need to take a little bit more of a look at it, because obviously that year we traded back in and we took Reuben Foster, who's now playing in either the XFL or the USFL. There was actually pictures of Reuben with Fred Warner at one of the game days. So I think we'd be remiss not to have a little look back and see, okay, we'll go through it and let's see who else we could have taken at 31 and avoided a fair amount of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I know a few people who were high on the Foster pick, and I saw some jerseys purchased early on.
I bought one.
I think it's a shame, obviously, off the field issues again, which for me, one of my biggest misses as a Niners fan is Alden Smith. When I first started getting into sport, obviously Kaepernick, Smith, and then obviously he had all the off-field issues, and then it was similar with Foster, and that 56 jersey seemed to be a popular one. But I didn't know he was back in the XFL. I had seen the footage of him with Fred, and hopefully he sorted some of that off.
I hope so, because he did that first year. He didn't just flash. He looked like he was going to be the real deal. And by all accounts, since then, it wouldn't have even affected the Niners going after Fred the following year in the third. So, I mean, if Foster could have been the player that he looked like he was going to be, imagine him alongside Fred, Andre, with Aziz backing them up. I mean, what a linebacking group that would have been. Somebody would have had to have been traded. We'd have gotten a lot of picks for one of them. But hey,
no. So, as David put there, Foster was a good learning lesson for our front office. Don't trust Nick Saban. And like you said, that's one thing that I'm finding with the draft. And you watch movies like Draft Day, and you start to get an understanding. And you're talking to these agents, and you're talking to the players, and that's why the 49ers do their due diligence now on anyone they bring into the locker room. I've seen a lot of people wanting DeAndre Hopkins. And that was where the road I was going to lead down before we get to everybody's favourite part of the show. So I don't know if you saw the tweet that I sent you, Nick, from our good friend Jason Hurley. So a lot of people like me are not salary cap experts. And when the 49ers, I'm looking for the tweet now so we can reference it properly. When the 49ers jigged CMC's contract, a lot of people got giddy and thought, wow, we freed up 10 million cap space. We're going to go after this edge rusher. We're going to go after that. So the tweet, it was from David Lombardi, this one, but I know Jason Hurley has done a lot of work. That's why I've name checked him there. So as it stands at the moment, we have 10.7 million of the 2023 room, but we've penned in Nick Bosa's extension,
so that's going to increase.
And I didn't realise this, but unused cap room will carry over to 2024. And this is why I wanted to reference the tweet, so I didn't get anything wrong, especially with the fact checkers in the chat. So we have 273 million 2024 liabilities at the moment across 56 players. Yes, the 2024 salary cap, it hasn't been announced yet. But the 2023 number was about 225 mil. So I'd be very shocked if the NFL whacked another 50 million on. I know Amazon are throwing that money at the TV deal. And I know you can restructure players. But I think at the moment, we've said it before in this show, we're not the Rams. We're not going to mortgage the future. So I can understand the Niners being a bit more prudent, Nick, that the salary cap carries over to next year. And
that's where it's going, yeah. I'd be surprised if we went and made any more splashes. We've just got to have enough just in case something happens. Unfortunately, players get hurt every single week in the NFL. It seems like every week someone's getting, a season-ending injury. Hopefully, the Niners can stay away from that. But at least the cap the cap space is there. Should we need to dip in, but I would fully expect that anything that we don't use this year is being stockpiled for next year, so that they don't have to go trading any of their big names. They can keep all of their stars, and then they can still have all of these players that they've spent, blooding into the squad this year to go after, hopefully, number 7 next year.
Yeah. So we always reference people that we talk to. So I've got a good friend, Mike, who's a Rams fan. He's part of the Fantasy Front Office podcast. He's on holiday with his good lady and his family at the moment, but he's always in the group chat. He's like me. He never switches off. So he tweeted out a tweet from an unnamed NFL executive that had said apparently Hopkins can't run anymore and he isn't going to separate. That's why the Cardinals have taken the hit. And like you said, we've all played Madden. You turn that salary cap off sometimes and you go sign all these big players. But this is real life. And there's a lot of people saying no for D-Hop. I don't think it's a need that we've got at the moment. And like you said, Nick, we've got to be prudent with that salary cap and just trust in the process. Hopefully number 6 comes this year. then number 7 the year after. I'm smiling because
This is
someone's
it.
going to cut that.
You never know. But I mean, what you've got to remember about DeAndre Hopkins is it isn't all about separation with him. That man has one of the biggest catch radiuses in the NFL. You don't have to put it that near him
No, you
to train
don't.
catch. He doesn't rely on separation the way some receivers do. He can catch the ball going one-on-one fine as well. But I still wouldn't.
But you've got to argue the way we're set up. You've got Samuel for your yards after catch. You've got CMC in the slot. You've got Ayuk. I wouldn't want someone like D-Hop coming in and taking away from Ayuk's development. Jennings, we've talked about Ronnie Bell is looking dangerous. Danny Gray, that speed threat. So, you know, we reference the NFL and you look at how our teams played. I just don't think D-Hop, how he stands now. And again, like you said, you know, some of the performances over the last few years, I've had him in my fantasy team. Some of the catches have been unreal. But it's a warning sign when a team is going to pay you $22 million not to play for you. And it's just weird that we've got the Cardinals and the Rams having this weird fire sale in our division. I mean, us and the Seahawks are just looking at each other like stepbrothers, like what's going on here?
It's crazy.
As David agrees with us there, the cap room gives us flexibility. Maybe an in-season trade. We've shown we've done that. We did that with Jimmy G. We've done that with CMC. Niner Sickness Podcast is in the house.
How are we doing,
Appreciate
mate?
the love. Thank you for joining. And as David has put there, Hopkins is a bad locker room guy. It's all about D-Hop. And obviously the suspension for the PEDs is not a great look. So I agree on that front.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to kind of
unanimous no on that, really, isn't it?
We just wanted to touch base on that before we went to everybody's favourite time of the week. So for those people who have checked in on me after Nick's rather evil Would You Rather last week, just want to say I took a few days off social media. My good lady whisked me away for a couple of days. But I'm okay. I've dusted the tears off. I've shared the photo of me looking upset. And Nick had his glory. I will give you your flowers. You were back with a bang last week, buddy. So on that note, I think you should go first this week.
All right. That's okay. I can deal with that. So, as we know, and I think all Niners fans know this, a certain James Garoppolo had a bit of a shock, really, when he failed his medical. Now, as we know, he could actually end up being released and not being paid a penny should he fail another medical in September if he's not ready to go. So my would you rather, Paul, is should the worst happen and we end up at QB3 again, would you rather the Niners move forward with Sam Darnold, or would you rather the 49ers tap up one of their old quarterbacks and run with Jimmy?
Interesting. Can see the headlines now. UK content creator starts the Jimmy G hype train. I mean, to be honest, I was high on Jimmy when we first traded for him, and then he went on that run. You know, I got the jerseys, I got the memorabilia, but given his injury record at the moment and the fact that he's come out with that foot injury, for me, no. As much as I'm not saying that I want to go in with Sam Darnold, as David put there, you stick with Darnold. He's only 25. I think to bring Jimmy back does nothing for the team spirit. I think we've needed to move on. I think we need to say to Brock, Trey, and Darnold, as it stands at the moment, this is your QB room. Had probably caused controversy by saying I'd rather bring Colin Kaepernick back than Jimmy Garoppolo at this point. However, that was a rather clever would you rather. I was not expecting to be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. And don't worry, I wasn't going to say it. So to answer your question, but before I ask you mine,
fair. Okay.
So Alex Simpson has got one for the both of us. So I know what he's making reference to here. So the backstory for this, everybody, is I scored a touchdown at the weekend and there was a bit of chirping going backwards and forwards. And I did the spin and ball celebration, which technically I knew you weren't allowed to do, but I tried to play the whole rookie card and it wasn't aimed at anyone. So I knew Alec was going to touch base for that. So Alec has put, Would you rather get flagged for over-celebrating a touchdown, which would make Moody miss his 100% extra points of the season, or get flagged for a false start, causing Bosa not to get his 22nd sack of the season?
Oh,
Now,
that's easy.
I was
That's
going to
not
say,
even difficult.
so go on then. Which one are you going for?
Frankly, I'm not going to be annoying Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is twice the size. If Nick Bosa hits me, I'm probably going to end up 6 feet under. Yeah, I'd rather be. I'd rather have Moody angry at me than Nick Bosa. It's that simple.
Well, I was going to say for me, I was going to lean towards Moody Mania. 100% record is awesome, and Nick Bosa would just get his 22nd sack on the next play anyway. So I'm not going to worry about
Not
that.
if it's the last play of the year you want.
Well, he hasn't put that in the question. So that if he put that in the question, might have made it a bit more difficult. But it doesn't say that, does it? But that was rather a clever one. So before I ask you mine, there's a few people jumping in on yours. So Brandon Allen is an above average number 4.
True.
As much as we all joke about Jimmy, the hope out there is that he does pass his physical, because we want that comp pick. Colin, stick with Darnold. Jimmy's just a dink and dunker. Someone agreeing with you. Make Moody miss. And as Niner Sickness podcast puts, you never want to give your ex-girlfriend a chance to come back into your life. So bring back.
Now, what I am going to say, Malibu Media. Now, Malibu Media is a friend of mine. In fact, he is a Swansea hammerhead. And I'm going to out you right here, Luke, because Malibu Media is an Eagles fan. Now, he is a good Eagles fan. He is not one of the bad ones. He's a good one. He's a really great guy, actually a really good flag footballer and an international lacrosse player, no doubt.
But I do like that he snuck in there, because even with I was looking at the logo, I thought, is he a Niners fan? But yeah,
he's a good lad, is Luke.
Well, Luke may like my question for you. So, Nick, my would you rather? I was thinking about this one today. It's well known that the 49er Faithful UK has a good working relationship with the 49ers. And we've seen that our good friend Nick Clark has just got engaged. He's embarking on that next stage of his life. So it would be a miss for Nick Clark to take on board all of the planning for the 49er Faithful UK, 49ers events. So he's rung you up. He's given you the job. He's seen what you've done. Clearly the main man of the 49er Faithful UK. He sees that you can handle the pressure of the would you rather. So you are.
What's the caveat?
Number 1, right? So you have been given the job. There's no caveat to you getting the job.
There is. There's something coming. I know it is.
However, Nick Clark does not want to leave it to just one man. So you have to hand pick your number 2, and you have to pick them from the 49er Faithful UK community. Nick Clark needs a decision in 30 minutes. You're on that clock. Who are you picking and why?
I'm taking Lee. I'm taking El Presidente.
El Presidente.
I'm taking El Presidente. He, when you listen to the show from when we were all out there over the time, there are certain things that he arranged on there, which I'll always be grateful for. And he's El Presidente. To be honest, I'm fully aware that my nose is going a little bit brown right now, having picked that. But yeah,
it's not that. The headline from there is, Lee, that Nick wants to boss you around. That he doesn't see you as number 1. That's just what I'm hearing. So
how did you hear that? How did you get there? I mean, you got 1 plus 1, 25.
Yeah. I'm teasing, but no, all jokes aside, I looked at, I don't know if you saw, there was a post in the group. Someone had, I think it was Rob, he's called it, put the post A, B, and C. So I think choice A was like a quarterback and a head coach, B and C. And I did look at that and I thought, that's an interesting one, but I thought I'd save that for later. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, head over to the Facebook group and have a look. Because I haven't answered that question yet, because I didn't know whether you were going to use that for your would you rather, because I saw it, I screenshot it. But to be fair, Nick, I think we've been quite nice to each other.
I know, it's a rarity. It's a rarity.
So Alex Simpson has jumped in there. The wife will miss Jimmy playing this year. Have to admit, Tracy's a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo too. I'm not quite sure why, Alex. She doesn't really watch much of the games, but when Ten was playing, she tended to take an interest. And so will all the Raiders fans is watching him play. That's true. And Luke Walsh has a good question. Will Sam become Sam Darnett if he starts? Who knows?
Well, if he starts, I want him to do well, obviously. That's all I want. I just, I'd rather we didn't end up that far because by all accounts, that supposed splitting of snaps between Trey and Sam, it isn't really going very well for Sam.
No, to be honest, I mean, I wasn't unhappy with the fact that they've brought him in. I don't know much about Brandon Allen, but I do think the message it's sending to Trey and Brock is Jimmy's gone. This opportunity is there for you two guys to fight it out. I mean, we are going to finish off with a bit of QB talk. I hope Brock isn't rushing back. I've seen everyone get excited on social media, Nick, about the fact that he might be ahead of schedule. He could be ready for week 1. But just buckle up, everybody, because the 49ers and QB talk go hand in hand, like Ludlam being evil to Paul Hope on the Would You Rather. To be fair, though, Chrissy, who was a good friend of ours, saw that she's dipped her toe in the Would You Rather on Twitter earlier today. She asked a Would You Rather question, and I commented and tagged you in it and said, look, Nick, everybody's at it. It's a good segment that you have come up with, and I do struggle some weeks to think I need to one-up you, but I didn't put as much effort into mine this week. But I would say...
that's what it is.
I would say today was more of a friendly Would You Rather. We can both come away from this with no tears shed. But I will tell Lee when I text him later that you said that you want to boss him around. That's why I heard.
He's going to watch the show, so he's going to know that you fibbed. So do you really want to fib to Lee?
Well, you want to boss him around. you want his job, what I heard. But I digress. I don't want to get Nick into trouble. I do like the fact that Nick has come on board. We've got our weekly slot going. Just want to take an opportunity at this point to say thank you to everybody that does tune in every week, that does share the link, that has subscribed to the YouTube channel. It does mean a lot. It's well known that me and Nick started this journey last year. We were kind of on other shows. We weren't getting much airtime, and off the field, we were talking about putting a show together, and it's great to see that we have this weekly show on a Tuesday with our Would You Rather, and I look forward to Tuesdays. I must admit, I was quite giddy in the car on the way home. They didn't have work, and Tracy was like, what you doing? I was like, I'm thinking of my Would You Rather for this afternoon, and we had a bit of a chuckle. But I do just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in. It does mean a lot. And before we finish off, I just want to share David's thoughts that he thinks Trey starts week 1 and never looks back. And as Lucas put, do hit that like button, Nick Bosa, that like button, and it is appreciated. We will be back next week. Now, we will share with everybody. Me and Nick will be taking a slight break in the summer. I'm away with the family, first week of the school holidays over here. So I think August the 1st, we're looking at having a break, giving you guys an opportunity to go off and watch something else. But don't worry, we will be back refreshed and ready. But we will definitely be back next week. 8 p.m. UK time, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And Nick, is there anything else that you want to say to these good people before we finish on and get out of here?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, buddy, to be honest. I think there is only one thing left that we can possibly say. And we say it every week because every week is true. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, Deep Clark, Garrison Hurst.